Join us for a performance review of the new Porsche Panamera Turbo S. Let's go! In the front, this recent Panamera facelift changed a little bit of this lower area for all models, so a little bit bolder from the design, and also the daytime running light and lower part has been modified a little bit. Here in the Turbo S, you can see it has this double design here and it's also a little bit more stretched. The main headlamp unit here, LED, different trims available there as well. 5 meters 0.5, 16 foot 6 or 199 inches is the length of the short wheelbase version of the Panamera, and there's also the executive version long wheelbase, which is then 15 centimeters or 6 inches longer, and for more legroom here in the rear. And there's also still the Sport Turismo, this so-called estate, which then continues right over a little bit more here. We also have a shot there for you, even available as a Turbo S, so in the different engine versions, just that the Sport Turismo is only available with all-wheel drive. And there's also, for example, the GTS available still, which has this more menacing look with dark wheels, for example. Here the Turbo S comes with everything they have. So 21-inch wheels, the biggest ones. There are also new designs here for the update in 20-inch and 21-inch. This also features directly the carbon ceramic brakes for even more non-fading performance, for example, on the racetrack. And indeed, you can take this car on the racetrack. It will be a blast, I can tell you. So keep on watching this review. In the rear, the light strip here now goes all the way from left to right, also aligning with the recent newer Porsche models. So this has been updated, also made more three-dimensional, more sculptural. So definitely fitting to the vehicle. The Turbo S also gets the foldable wing that also goes up to the side. So looks quite impressive, but I think it looks better when it's like this, just, you know, more elegant integrated design. Engines, it's all about more horsepower in this facelift. It will start with the base engine 2.9 liter V6 bi-turbo, which will then also be the base for the new 4SE hybrid, then with 560 horsepower, so a horsepower upgrade for that as well. And then the V8 models, for example, the GTS will get the V8, and also this one here, the Turbo S, pure ICE 4 liter V8 bi-turbo engine. In this case then 630 horsepower now, 820 Newton meters of torque, and 3.1 seconds is the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. That's 0.3 seconds faster than the so far top model. But make no mistake, it's not that they cancelled their hybridization top hybrid strategy now. They will later also again be the Turbo SE hybrid once again. And so overall they will have 3 hybrids then in their total lineup. But definitely a lot of choices. Of course, no diesel anymore. Porsche abandoned these. And definitely still a focus on the hybrids, although we have here the strongest pure combustion engine for today. Driving mode selector here at the steering wheel, and the steering wheel has been reworked with the facelift. You can, for example, see now you have, you know, like in the 911 or in the Taycan, these updated jog wheels, so they control then the digital instruments, and on the left side the same here then for the volume, and this is definitely easier to control. So I think it's a sleek design here also with this, you know, real screw design. At the same time, easy to control volume and also the instruments, and then also with the drive mode selector, which you can easily do while driving. Shifting pedals also, they are very crisp and nice to use. And soon we'll also give you more details about the instruments and the infotainment screen. First of all, the seats. For the Panamera, you get either a base seat, which is a little bit more open, or then you get a sport seat, which has this additional shoulder support right here. In the GTS, you can also get Alcantara on the middle part. That would be the only solution which contains less animal skin. So far, the Panamera lineup is not that good in this respect. I talked to the boss of the model line, and he said he is also realizing more and more demand for animal-free solutions, so they are looking into that, but did not implement that in the facelift yet. So far, GTS model for Alcantara, or then you have to go for the Taycan for totally animal-free interior. However, comfort-wise, for the seat form, this is also what this car is about, that you have, for example, way more comfort than in a 911, for example. And the seat form itself, you sit low, so it reminds you of sports vehicles, yes, yet at the same time you have more space. And here the steering wheel can be moved up and down and in and out electric way, and you can find a very nice seating position even if you're quite tall, 1.86 or 6'1". And this is here, plenty of headroom, and look at that. I mean, this bright Alcantara ceiling, wow. This is really amazing. Although we don't have the panoramic roof here, which would be an option, this brings so much light in the interior. It looks cozy, like a living room atmosphere, looks premium. And look at that, even here the handles, you know, the inside handles are covered with Alcantara and having like a strengthening in the middle. So then they're also dampened from the inside, you know, and of course this is also dampened when they go back. So this would be something for when you drive a little bit racier here as a driver, which is totally possible with that car. You should check it out in the racetrack part. Then as a co-driver or passenger, we always say co-driver here, we use the rally speech intentionally. Then it really feels good to grab that handle and hold tight. Now the interior overview, and as we know from Porsche with the horizontal stress, definitely right here and here, very clean design. Also with the analog clock there in the top part, there's also a new design for that available right now. Here then the microfiber steering wheel, you should definitely get that, as I said, really nice grip, and it's really a clean design. However, you still have all the controls you might possibly need. Soon more details to these instruments, which are digital on the side and analog one in the middle part. And on the right side we have the widescreen format here. The software has been updated, also the map data and so on. So slight updates here with the facelift for that. Soon we'll also go in detail what you can do with that. Then in the lower part you don't have, you know, too many physical buttons. You do have still some left, like a control knob right here. For example, you can zoom in and out with that in the map. That's possible. The volume here, for example, is then in this case not controlled with that, but with another jog here below that. Not sure if you can see it at the moment on camera. But here then this nice metal knurling also for the AC unit. Good to control it while driving, for example. And everything else is, yeah, touch sensitive, capacitive buttons. It looks cool as soon as it's clean. But then of course collect some fingerprints here, for example, for suspension setting. And the infotainment right here, it's actually quite responsive. Here at the Bilderberg racetrack for you here today. Good visualization. Main menu looks like this. You can also individualize that. My favorite menu is this always, the car menu. For example, when you put out the spoiler or put it in again for your friends. Then you can also see the visualization right there. And you see that the adaptive air suspension here, which is usually an option for the Panamera or comes automatically with the Turbo S. Also everything adjusts according to the driving modes. In the sports mode, for example, it goes down automatically and so on. And the climate unit can also be controlled here. For example, like where the vents are coming from. That you have to do in the menu right here. Now a detailed look at the instruments. Once again, pretty cool. They have the analog RPM meter right there, and then left and right are screens. And on the right side you can change it up like this. Here also with the GPS map, for example. It will also appear when you just approach the next intersection, for example. That's a cool function. And here the all-wheel drive distribution, of course a rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive. And then you can just take a look at that while driving. The more you hammer it, the more power it will also give to the front wheels. And here at the steering wheel, you can also then switch over to the left gauge, and then also have, for example, GPS input right there, or assistance systems information and so on. And I think, yeah, that's actually easy and straightforward. Now to the rear seating area, of course the same design as in the front, and even memory seating here for the rear seats. This is of course an option, and with the electric seats for the rear, you can see the controls there in the lower part. And in the sedan here of the Panamera, it would start with single seats. An option, you can pick the through bench if you want to have a third seating in the rear, and the Sport Turismo, the Estate, would start with a through bench, and there you can optionally go for the single seat setup. This looks more executive-like. You have these special controls and also digital controls for the climate unit. This of course looks really fancy. Yeah, of course it's not necessary, but what is necessary with the Porsche? Here it's not about what is necessary, but what is cool. So let's get inside here. And it's a long vehicle, and therefore we also have enough legroom here also when I have the seat as I would be driving. But of course it's clear that a car in this segment is not really like good packaging wise if you look at exterior-interior relation. And you fall a little bit backwards here with the bench, so you do have enough space here. Also electric control here of the length of the seat, for example, and also the back part of the seat, and with the electric control, for example, also electric lumbar support. I mean, you get along definitely, and it is in one way luxurious. Here headroom wise it still works, so you don't need a Sport Turismo for more headroom here. But I would not say it's the most comfortable position here in the rear. So for more comfort, I would definitely, for example, prefer a Cayenne in the rear. Even a Macan is definitely more comfortable here in the rear. Boot capacity is in both cases around 500 liters or 18 cubic feet, both sedan and Sport Turismo. They don't differ that much because it is measured here below the cover. The Sport Turismo has a little bit more height right here. And here in the sedan also you have this high loading sill right there. That's not that practical. However, you can still very well use the trunk here, a little bit wider in the sides. Underneath here some of the sound equipment, and there's this, split. You can put this one down, just the middle ski hatch, and the other sides you have a 1/3, 2/3, or also 1/1/1, depending on what you like. And let's put a cabin trolley inside. You can see the dimensions here in a more practical way, and it also fits here in a vertical way, but not all the way up till the end. So we have to push it a little bit further in. So here, for example, even like this, probably then it will not close, just as a very practical test. Or let's see, that might still work, will it? No, will not. Welcome to Thomas's Active Driving Lounge with the Porsche Panamera facelift S, Porsche Panamera Turbo S. Here we're on the Bilsterberg racetrack, and we'll start with the launch control. We have an exclusive slot just for you. Launch control 3.1 seconds is the acceleration figure official. Let's see how it scores right here, and then we'll just hammer it on the racetrack. Let's go. Whoa, that was 170 kilometers an hour. Pretty impressive. Whoa, that happened. So there is also our instructor, and let's now hammer it here with the new facelifted setups. We're going to talk about the Panamera in general, and also about the changes here, and of course also about this racetrack, which has a lot of topography changes here, just like in the center of Germany. Wow. Yeah, assistance system is still active. We're in the Sports Plus mode. Sports Plus mode means that the electronic stability control is drawn back, shifting is optimized, so the gears are turned up higher, and also the suspension is set stiffer. Adaptive air suspension in here, now set on a stiffer tone. Then the PDCC, this is this anti-roll, anti-tilt control, is updated in this facelifted version. That means even more active. Look at that. You can get the car also a little bit sideways. Have to counter steer a little bit. Now topography changes. Wow, and so much G-force is applied here. This is really crazy stuff. So the car keeps so straight, I mean, there's hardly any leaning at all. Then they have the rear axle steering, which helps me with lower speeds, with more agility, and at higher speeds with more stability. Now there's this incline, like at 200 kilometers or 125 miles an hour, and really getting the stomach pushed all the way down. Whoa, and look at that. I mean, how the car is stable and so agile, and it feels light, you know, of course not as light as a sports car right in front of us, but the way this big sedan, you know, and heavy sedan handles here on the racetrack is absolutely incredible. Like this, you know, wow. And once again, almost 200 kilometers an hour, hard on the brakes. It's interesting that the sensors, they detect actually, you know, the car in front of us there as well. So, wow, I mean, the acceleration out there is like, from the shifting and the power output, there would be no resistance at all. The torque is always there, always right there, from the 630 horsepower. And look at the steering. I don't have to steer that much. They have also updated the steering. So the hardware part, yes, and also the software part, the steering feel. So it's even more precise, even more progressive. You have to steer less. There's no dead zone area. One of the most perfect steering feelings I have felt so far. And you just have to see the degree angles of the corner I'm driving and what I'm doing with the steering wheel. It's really pretty much aligned. And even here going uphill, you do not feel in this vehicle that you're going uphill power-wise. If you're going uphill or downhill, it doesn't make no difference. The power is still always there. You know, pushing this car in the corner, a little bit of counter steer now in this S chicane. Look at that, wow. I mean, I'm really handling this car as it would be a light sports vehicle. So if you think about, oh, I'm going to buy a Porsche Panamera as a track car, yeah, why not? And that's the thing, you know. Of course, no one would actually do that. But the thing is that you can actually. That's the most extraordinary thing about this vehicle. And I've been driving this Panamera here on the racetrack a couple of times. We went on Vancouver Island with the Turbo SE Hybrid, for example. We went with the GDS in Bahrain Formula 1 racetrack. You can also check out these episodes later on. And here now this facelifted version, indeed what I feel is it's even more precise as for the steering. Suspension wise, even more upgraded. The car stays more upright. It is on the one hand easier to handle, I would say, but at the same time it is more extreme as for the speed you can score. And that is also underpinned by this 7 minutes 39 lap time on the Nürburgring Nordschleife by Porsche Works driver Lars Kern, new lap record for this vehicle segment here. With this very vehicle we're driving, just a little bit, you know, modified with the sports seats and of course for safety. And yeah, I can just stress again, this is probably, I guess this is the sportiest big sedan overall. And yeah, once again, incredible what you can do with this vehicle. The Sports Plus mode, by the way, it does allow you to set the car a little bit sideways, yet at the same time you're not absolutely out of control. Here there's like a corner where you can really stress that. And I mean, in the front, our instructor, professional racing driver as well. Of course, I have no chance against him, but I don't feel that it would be the car, you know. I'm also an experienced racetrack driver, but of course no professional in this case, if you compare it to these guys. But still, I don't feel that it would be the car that is limiting me, you know. And they actually told us that about 5 years ago, the lap times that you could score with the Panamera would equal the one of the top 911 sports model, like GT3 RS or something. And that's of course something really, really incredible. Sound-wise, by the way, this new sports exhaust for the V8 models, updated also, that you get sound feedback like this. Also even when there are these OPFs, these particle filters for the petrol engines. So I think you still have a nice and decent sound, although there's more technology for us for breathing for the environment as well. And now to our conclusion for today with the new Porsche Panamera. Today here the focus on the Panamera Turbo S. First things first, the driving dynamics of this vehicle, being a big sedan, really heavy, is just phenomenal. I could not believe, especially like on this track which has some tight corners and up and down topography, so sometimes we were thinking like, how is this possible that this car is able to do that? So really amazing, and here with this recent facelift, even more so a little bit crisper even in the steering than the chassis optimization, especially as for the suspension. This has also been significant here, so even straighter on the road. However, it did not lose any comfort. So this wide span between comfort and sportiness, even on the racetrack, this is what makes this vehicle so impressive, and in this respect I think also best in segment. Then exterior, not too many changes, just slight ones, a little bit more stronger that front. Interior changes also just some and minor, but definitely some reasonable upgrades. That you also have optimized infotainment system, for example. Steering wheel, I think with these jog wheels, I think also a little bit better than before. Yeah, and also a cool Alcantara steering wheel we have here for today, and a very nice inside Alcantara ceiling as well. However, as for seating materials and inside covering of dashboard and so on, a lot of animal skin used still. They did not change it for the facelift. The GTS does offer Alcantara on the seats, so that would be the only solution at this moment. For the next Panamera generation, they will definitely rethink that. We already talked about that with the designers, managers and engineers. The space you have on the inside is also quite okay. However, you have sufficient space, yes. However, considering the exterior length, it's not the best relation, but definitely still a very comfortable vehicle on all of the different seats. And also nice that you have the choice between the Sport Turismo, even more versatile in the trunk, and also the executive version if you want a little bit more wheelbase and also a little bit more space in the rear. Power upgrades mainly here for all of the engines. That's the main thing about this recent update. All the versions did receive more power, and they will also stay with this hybrid strategy, because on top of this Turbo S, there will also again be the Turbo S e-hybrid. So this will get even more horsepower and also the hybridization. So overall 3 hybrids, and meanwhile 2/3 of all Panamera sales in Europe, for example, are one of the hybrid models. So it's also widely accepted by the customers. So a lot of interesting impressions here today from the Turbo S Panamera. I hope you enjoyed it. Also tune into more versions of the Panamera. We have definitely very interesting videos, different hybrids. It's the pre-facelift versions, but also, for example, racetrack and Bahrain. So you'll all find them here on our channels. Thank you so much for tuning in today. See you next time.